Whatever, Lord, it is possible for a clansman endowed with confidence to achieve by putting forth effort and by persistence, by human effort, human exertion and human endurance, that the Blessed Lord has achieved. For the Blessed Lord gives himself up neither to the pleasures of the senses, which are base, vulgar, for worldlings, and not for the noble and unprofitable, nor to self-torment, which is painful, ignoble, and unprofitable. The Blessed Lord is able, here and now, to enjoy the surpassing happiness of dwelling in the four jhanas. Lord, if I were asked, well now, friend Sariputta, have there ever been in the past any ascetics and Brahmins more exalted in enlightenment than the Blessed Lord? I should say no. If asked, will there be any such in the future? I should say no. If asked, is there any such at present? I should say no. Again, if I were asked, have there been any such in the past equal in enlightenment to the Blessed Lord? I should say yes. If asked, will there be any such in the future? I should say yes. But if I were asked, are there any such at present equal in enlightenment to the Blessed Lord? I should say no. And if I were then asked, Venerable Sariputta, why do you accord this highest recognition to one and not the other? I should say, I have heard and received it from the Blessed Lord's own lips. There have been in the past and there will be in the future Arahant Buddhas equal in enlightenment to myself. I have also heard and received it from the Blessed Lord's own lips that it is not possible, it cannot be, that in one and the same world system, two Arahant Sammasambuddhas should arise simultaneously. No such situation can exist. Lord, if I were to reply thus to such questions, would I be speaking in conformity with the Blessed Lord's word and not misrepresenting him by departing from the truth? Would I be explaining Dhamma correctly so that no fellow follower of the Dhamma should contest it or find occasion for censure? And the Buddha said, certainly, Sariputta, if you answer like this, you would not misrepresent me. You would be explaining Dhamma correctly and not laying yourself open to censure. At this, the Venerable Udai said to the Lord, it is wonderful, Lord. It is marvelous how content the Blessed Lord is, how satisfied and restrained. When being endowed with such power and influence, he does not make a display of himself. If the wanderers professing other doctrines were able to discern in themselves even one of such qualities, they would proclaim it with a banner. It is wonderful that the Blessed Lord does not make a display of himself. And the Buddha said, well then, Udai, just observe, so it is. If such wanderers were able to discern in themselves even one of such qualities, they would proclaim it with a banner. But the Tathagata is content. He does not make a display of himself. Then the Lord said to Sariputta, and therefore you, Sariputta, should frequently speak about this matter to monks and nuns, to male and female lay followers, and any foolish people who have doubts or queries about the Tathagata will, by listening to such talk, have their doubts and queries resolved. This is how the Venerable Sariputta proclaimed his confidence in the Lord. And so, one name for this exposition is the serene faith. Sampasadaniya Sutta. That's the end of the suttas. Anything to discuss?
First of all, with birth names, Mahathera came down to earth and emotions sent by you. Is that similar to the story of Cain and Eve of China?
No, it is not similar. In the Bible, it says that Adam and Eve were expelled from heaven because they ate the forbidden fruit. But here, the Devas were flying around, and when they saw earth, they came down to explore it, and then they found this chocolate-like thing. So they tasted it, and it tasted good. So they thought, why should we go anywhere else? So So they enjoyed themselves there, and as they ate, they became heavier, and they could not fly after some time. It's not stated, so I don't know. But anyway, since the world is mind-made, so you can't see that there were so many beings before the world was destroyed, and there will be the same number of beings after that. So the Buddha did not elaborate because probably it's not important. So in the suttas, what is important, what we can use, we keep it in mind and use it. What is not answered in the suttas is usually not important. So no need. If the answer is not there, don't crack your mind too much about it. Not worth knowing.
And how does it connect to the 37 factors of enlightenment? Is it derived from the noble path? Because in the bottom group, the end of suffering is noble path. But how does the 37 factors come into the because this is the 37 of noble path is part of it. This can subset
how the 37 Bodhipakkhiya Dhammas are connected to the Noble Eightfold Path. In the Buddha has stated that when one perfects fully perfects the Noble Eightfold Path, one also fully perfects the 37 Bodhipakkhiya Dhammas. You see, take for example the 4 Iddhipada. The 4 Iddhipada are the 4 bases of psychic power. And if you practice the 4 Iddhipada, it's very easy to get supernormal powers or psychic powers. However, not all arahants have psychic power. Psychic powers come to some people when they attain the 4 jhanas. But some people, even after they attain the 4 jhanas, they don't have psychic power. But if they take the trouble to develop the psychic powers, then they can. So in the suttas, we find the Buddha says some of his disciples have the 6 abhinyas, the 6 higher knowledges, comprising of 5 psychic powers, 5 types of psychic powers, plus the destruction of the asavas, which basically means enlightenment. So the Buddha described how he became enlightened, and the way the Buddha practiced to become enlightenment shows that he actually attained 3 abhinya. The first watch of the night, he remembered his past lives. He recalled his past lives for many thousands of years, I think for aeons or so, world cycles. And that was for 4 hours, from 6 to 10 p.m. basically. And from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., the Buddha used the divine eye, the heavenly eye, to look at beings, what karma they created, and as a result, where they took rebirth. And then again, what karma they created, and where they went for rebirth. So he understood the working of karma determines our rebirth, how beings migrate to the rounds of rebirths according to the karma they create. Then on the last watch of the night, since he had remembered his past lives, he recalled that he was a monk disciple of the previous Buddha Kassapa. So all the Dhamma came back to him, which was not taught to him by any teacher in his last life. He only recalled all the Dhamma from the previous life. So he used that Dhamma in the last watch of the night, from 2 to 6 a.m. To contemplate on the Four Noble Truths. And from there, he attained destruction of the asavas. So basically, the Buddha is a three knowledges arahant. The Buddha is a three knowledges arahant. But some of his disciples are 6 knowledges arahant. So you see, for the Buddha to teach his disciples, when he decided to become a Sammasambuddha, proclaim the Dhamma in the world, I think he would have normally, I guess he would have recalled the previous Buddhas, what they taught, how they taught, and all this. So then probably he recalled that there are some arahants who have 6 higher knowledges. So probably he developed the other 3 higher knowledges, so that he's able to teach his disciples. And also you notice from the suttas that the Buddha himself did not practice the meditation on the 32 parts of the body. But when he decided to teach, the first meditation subject he taught was the 32 parts of the body. And only later, when some of his disciples committed suicide, that he was persuaded to teach another method of meditation. Then he taught Anapanasati. And in teaching Anapanasati, I declared that he himself practiced Anapanasati before enlightenment. And even after enlightenment, he continues to practice Anapanasati, which is basically a samatha meditation to attain the jhanas. But nowadays, you find some vipassana teachers, they claim that the Buddha practiced vipassana meditation. But in the suttas, it's very clear, the Buddha told his disciples, if anybody asks what meditation the Tathagata practiced, he told them to tell that the Tathagata practiced Anapanasati before enlightenment and even after enlightenment. So basically, a Buddha, coming back to your 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas. So some arahants, after they have become enlightened, they have attained 4 jhanas. And after they have become enlightened, they have no more the self. So because they have no more the self, unless they have something that they need to do with psychic power, and then like Venerable Sariputta, he has no psychic power and he has no desire to attain psychic power also, because he has no desire to show psychic power to people. But on the other hand, if he were asked maybe to do something by the Buddha with psychic power, then probably he would develop it. So the Noble Eightfold Path, if you practice the Noble Eightfold Path, it is enough for enlightenment. But if you develop it fully, then all the psychic power can come, and then all the 37 Bodhipakya Dhammas also can be complete.
Okay, one question, how do you overcome boredom? For example, when you're waiting for bus, train, flight, how do you spend time in work?
Okay. If we let our mind idle, there's an English saying, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So, when your mind is idle, unwholesome states can arise, like boredom is an unwholesome state. So, you have to keep the mind occupied. And one easy way is to chant. In the Buddha's teachings, we don't chant mantras, because mantras are words of power. We are not seeking for power. So we chant either Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa, or we chant Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. Or we chant the 32 parts of the body, which is much longer. So whatever chant you like to chant, you just chant it continuously, non-stop. And if you develop the ability to chant it constantly, then the mind can calm down. The mind can feel very pleasant. Very pleasant. Another way is to recall the Dhamma that you have learned. Reflect on it, then you might understand it better.
Can we achieve jhana by chanting?
See, like the 32 parts of the body, I think why the Buddha taught the 32 parts of the body is because it is easy to practice the chant of the 32 parts of the body. You keep chanting. And then also because the Buddha wants his disciples to maintain their mindfulness non-stop. So when you take a rest, you can also keep chanting it. I'm not sure, but I think it's probably you can attain the first jhana, only the first jhana from chanting. If you practice to the state that it keeps this chant goes non-stop in your mind, and if you can maintain your mindfulness most of the time with that chant.
I got another question. From another sutta, whether the Buddha refused to answer 10 questions raised by the wanderer. And the reason why he refused is that because they are not conducive to the practice, to the end of suffering. But here, we see that the Buddha explained the beginning of the universe, so in details. I'm wondering why he refused to answer the 10 questions, but here he explained them in such details.
I think the Buddha sees the person, whether he is capable of understanding. Then only the Buddha will explain. Like in one of the suttas, one external sect ascetic asked the Buddha about non-self, and the Buddha kept quiet. And then after asking a few questions which the Buddha did not answer, this wanderer, external sect ascetic, left. And after that, Venerable Ananda asked the Buddha, why didn't you explain Bhagava? And the Buddha said, if I say there is a self, that would contradict the Dhamma. And if I say there is no self, and then this wanderer will be confused. All the time I have a self, now I have no self. So he is not able to understand, especially external sect wanderers, ascetics. The Buddha said they are not trained in the way the Buddha's disciples are trained. They are not familiar with the Dhamma that the Buddha's disciples are familiar with. So because their background is different, their teaching is different, their training is different, everything is different. To teach them, they have to firstly throw away all what they have learned, all the things they have learned before, throw it away, and then start from the bottom, slowly teach them. To tell them the higher Dhamma immediately, they will not be able to grasp it.
Then the beginning of the universe is not conducive to the water, that water, but is conducive to this pure ground. Can I see this?
Okay. You see, the Buddha, I think, talked about this beginning of the world because the Brahmins claim that they were born from Brahma's head, and all the other castes were born from Brahma's feet. But that was not how the world originated. So the Buddha is trying to tell them actually how the world originated. How beings originated. Not from Brahma, but from Devas flying and settling down on the earth. So here, it is useful to explain to them because they are unclear how the beginning of the world came about. And the Brahmins tell them it is this way, and the Buddha don't explain to them, then you only got one side telling you the truth. The beginning of the world is explained by these Brahmins in one way. So they probably want to know what is the Buddha's explanation how the world came about. If it's not made by God, then where did it come from? So here the Buddha is trying to explain.
I think just mentioned something about the knowledges. Do you know what the knowledges
are? The 6 knowledges, 5 of them have to do with psychic power. The first one is psychokinesis, as mentioned here. One body multiplying into many bodies, and then can be able to pass through the wall, can dive into the earth and come out as though it is water, can walk on the surface of the water, can touch the sun and the moon, can fly with the human body, sitting cross-legged up to the Brahma heavens, which is very far. This is the first one. The second one is the heavenly eye, being able to see heavenly beings, and then the ghost realm, see hell and all these things. Third one is heavenly ear. You can hear spirits talking, you can hear human beings from far talking, all this, divine ear. That's how many are there? There's 3. And then another one is to be able to recall your past lives, up to thousands of lifetimes or world cycles. And then the 5th one, to be able to read the minds of other beings. Okay? What other people are thinking, what the Deva is thinking, what the ghost is thinking. Then the last one is the destruction of the asavas, which means enlightenment. So you imagine if you are striving to attain all these psychic powers, don't you think the ghosts and all that will be frightened? If you attain the divine eye, you can see them. You attain the divine ear, you can hear what they are talking. Then they try to kacau you, block you from attaining all these psychic powers. So that's why when you develop yourself up to that stage, when you are nearing that stage, they come and disturb you. That's why Mara comes to disturb the Jesus Christ, Mara comes to disturb the Buddha, the Arahant, disciples and all that. Okay, shall we end here?